Stage 10 for the Dakar, and it's the last stage in Chile, and it's going to be a very, very technical one at that. What a battle we've got for second, third and fourth position in the bikes. Oliver Alceta battling with Lopez and Rodriguez. It's anybody's race. Whilst BJ Baldwin was in some rather fundamental problems with his Hummer, but people power was to the fore. Stage 9 yesterday was a disaster for Krzysztof Holovic. He was doing so well. 6th position in the overall standings with his Gregoire de Mavius run Nissan. Terrible luck for the Polish driver to have such a result ripped away from him. Jean-Marc Fortin, the co-driver, saying, we hit a big ditch that wasn't in the road book. We flew over it with the front wheels, but the rear suspension took all of the force and it ripped out the prop shaft from the diff. And now our rally is finished. For Holovic, well, he couldn't even give an interview. Terrible, terrible. On board with the German Matthias Kahl. He's driving one of the Dutch-run Fast and Speed buggies. You may well have heard of them because usually they are the little buggies that they use for the Race of Champions that was held before Christmas in China. Kyle, though, having a good safe run through the stage, and he's still in the rally and doing well. The Atacama Desert, though, 24 hours ago, giving people the last chance to really, well, I won't say enjoy, but experience the sand in the desert. For some of them, it was anything but enjoyable. The camel grass has also come to the fore, as now we come down from the absolute height of the Atacama Desert. We've still got some climbing to do. That is going to be tomorrow when we do stage 11, when we go back over the Andes and we go past the Aconcagua mountain, the highest peak in the Andes. Look how difficult it is for these guys, some of them having to foot the thing, drag the thing down the dunes. It's a bit of a cliche, but you really do have no idea how difficult the Dakar is unless you actually do it and see it for yourself. How lucky was our cameraman not to get squashed by one of the Kamaz trucks. But you've got to keep your focus, you've got to keep your cool when the cockpit temperatures are approaching 65-70 degrees Celsius. And even for the world's best, including Christian Califano, the former French rugby international, he had some technical problems towards one of the peaks. He says, for the drivers, it's very hard, but for us riders, well, it's hard all the same. And now he warns our cameraman to close his eyes as one of the trucks comes steaming by. Califano still in the rally. Go from La Serena down to Santiago. It's stage 10, a special stage of 238 kilometers, a total mileage today of 586 with the road section, the final stage in Chile. ...151 bikes left Buenos Aires on New Year's Day. 93 of them left the start line this morning. Just before dawn, everybody assembled. And as always, the Chilean fans there to cheer on Mark, who even had time for last-minute autographs. I've never seen that before, the stage start of a Dakar. Literally in the middle of nowhere. But the darling of the crowd was always going to be Francisco Lopez. Chaleco is his nickname. He was going to have a lot of work to do because that battle for second, third and fourth in the overall standings is getting very, very tight indeed. There were 7 minutes covering Oliver Alceta, Lopez and Rodriguez this morning. But for Oliver Alceta, He continues to stay in that second position in the overall standings, but he really did lose out today by the fact that he has that KTM 690cc bike. It just doesn't quite have the sheer agility against the smaller 450s. In the old days, before it had an air restrictor put on it, it may well have overcome some of its agility problems with the sheer grunt and the power. But alas, those days have gone. And for Olav Alseta, he's got a lot of work to do. Olav Alseta eventually finishing 8th on the stage today, 7 minutes and 20 seconds back of the stage victor. But more importantly, losing out 5 minutes to Helder Rodriguez and some 3 minutes to Francisco Lopez. Here is Rodriguez. He continues in 4th overall, but he only needs, by the time we have now come to this bivouac in Santiago, he only needs another 52 seconds. And you may well have lost a bit of time there. He was turning around only to see Olav Alseta come through, so that he reckoned that he was on the right route. Very technical stage today. The twists and turns that we saw in the first part of the rally in Argentina now going to be returning as we return back over the Andes in 24 hours time. Cactus very much part of the scenery today. It wasn't quite a Wild West movie, but it was wild nonetheless. What about the Chilean hero, Francisco Lopez, aboard his Aprilia, passing not quite a cowboy, but somebody who didn't expect an Aprilia V-twin 450 to come rattling past. Now Lopez 3rd in the overall standings, but the battle between these three, Olav Alseta, Lopez and Rodriguez, now covered by 2 minutes and 10 seconds. This is going to be a fantastic battle all the way through to Buenos Aires on Sunday. Leading overall, and still no problems for Cyril Dupre. An hour and 22 minutes of advantage with his lead. It's all safe, and he really is ticking off the stages towards the finish. For others, there were more fundamental problems. The pros managed to get across these rocks, but for these top-level amateurs, it was always going to be difficult, but the 450 machines proving a little bit more agile and getting them out of trouble. Spectacular scenery. When is it ever not spectacular on the Dakar Rally? And when is Mark Comer ever not spectacular? Comer winning today's stage, his 4th victory this year from the 10 stages that he has completed. Were it not for those technical problems and those penalties early on in the first part of the first week, he would be so much further up. He's 17th overall. Here's David Fretinier. This is certainly his kind of stage. 2nd today into Santiago on the stage, but 6th overall. He could close those 13 minutes to Alain Declos, who is ahead of him in the overall standings. Without a 10-minute penalty, that battle between 5th and 6th would only be split by some 3 minutes. Ruben Ferreira from Portugal, another Portuguese flying rider. Is he being let loose today to try and be victorious on the stage? Ferreira, who so gentlemanly gave up his wheel the other day for Dupre. Olivier Pain, again on a Yamaha. Our Yamaha returning to the glory days of Stefan Perrahansel, who was victorious those 6 times on 2 wheels. Will Yamaha Motor France return with the might of Jean-Claude Olivier behind them? Who knows? These could be classic Dakar years up and coming. Jonas Street played it cool. You need to with a drop like that on your left-hand side. Jonas Street 9th on today's stage and safe and sound in 7th position, but Olivier Pain is only 7 minutes behind him. Jonah doesn't need to make any mistakes at all in these remaining 4 competitive stages that we have in Argentina. Now here is Alain Declos going off-road and picking his way through. Declos continuing 5th in the overall standings, but that battle raging behind him led by David Fretinier. Stage 10 and a victorious one for Mark Comer ahead of Fretinier and Rodriguez. Faria fourth on the stage from Francisco Lopez. Overall, Dupre still away with it, but look how close second, third and fourth is. Just 2 minutes and 10 seconds between them. Declos, fifth.
Bueno, hemos dejado el desierto atrás, ¿no?
We have left the desert, the Atacama. Now we're going into southern Chile and a brand new terrain, very technical. It was a day of really slip-sliding the bike around, very interesting, and we try to demonstrate that each day. We're fast, we're quick, whatever the conditions, whatever the stage. Today the bike was very heavy, almost too heavy, but I've never ridden so fast on roads such as that before. Corners for 240 kilometers. Maybe a good stage for the smaller machinery, and I knew this before the start. My technical riding ability, maybe not great, but that is really what I expected.
På en måte så føles det litt bra, for jeg har gjort det jeg kan og jeg har aldri kjørt så bra på sånt underlag, og samtidig så det litt frustrerende, for jeg får liksom ikke gjort noe mer da.
J'ai plus trop le droit à l'erreur, il faut que j'essaie de...
Can't make any mistakes, I must ride as fast as I can. This stage we couldn't gain a lot of time, but I could easily have lost my way very easily. I took some risks, attacking, gained a few minutes, only a few, but maybe at the end I'll finish close to the podium. Fretinier sixth at the moment.
C'est incroyable quoi, depuis qu'on est parti.
It's unbelievable, since the beginning I've never done the same stage twice, except of course in the Atacama Desert. Here is a new kind of terrain where we needed to adapt on the hard ground with a lot of braking, a lot of corners, and hard to find really a balance. It's changing compared over the last 3 days, and it's a great, good mix. The Dakar has visited so many places over the years. Now, this second edition taking place here in South America brings up once more the problems of what we leave behind. It's all very well seeing the glitz and the glamour and the sexy shots that we regularly see during the broadcasts, but what about clearing up after the whole operation? As always, the French-led organisers have a solution to this, and they go through the stages. These cars are leapfrogging each other stage by stage. Each team is in charge of a stage. One does the on-bumper stages, the other does the evens. It's more of an efficient way of working, and in each group there are even some local representatives who approve of the work that we do. The father of the first Dakar in 1979, Thierry Sabine, had a wish to preserve nature and respect the desert. He asked the Tuaregs to help clean the route of the Dakar after each year. This they did, even discovering wrecks that had maybe been there many years earlier. Into the 21st century, it's no different, with tyres and rubbish being removed from the Atacama Desert. As organisers, we believe we can organise a rally and respect the places we cross. For us, it's a major factor when planning the route to take care of the environment. The Dakar is a truly Herculean event. It's still in operation way after the front runners have gone through. It's not just the spin doctors in operation, but a serious considered clean-up to make sure the Dakar is able to return in the future.